What's up, y'all? It's Dr. Paul with a comic book equity video for Liberty Hill Comics, where I share my passion and over 40 years experience comic book collecting, investing, and conservation with you. Today, I'm going to show you how I hunt down, acquire, clean, press, and submit comic books for grading for both fun and profit as part of this hobby that we love called comic book collecting. We'll review what I look for, how cleaning, pressing, and submission to a third-party grader can generate an edge for you in creating comic book equity, and understanding where your risks are in doing so. We're going to use this copy of Wonder Woman published in the Golden Age to do so. If that sounds like fun, stick around. Before we get started, what is this comic book and why should we care? This is Wonder Woman number 38, cover dated November-December 1949. It was published in the late Golden Age period, post-World War II, and unfortunately about 2 years after the death of the great creator of Wonder Woman, Charles Moulton. Despite his death in 1947, DC continued to use his name on the writing byline for the book for many years after, under license from his estate. But for me, no other writer in the Golden Age really knew how to portray Wonder Woman as effectively as her creator did. This cover, although perhaps not the most exciting Golden Age Wonder Woman cover, is illustrated by the amazing Harry Peter, who collaborated with Charles Moulton on the look of Wonder Woman and defined her Golden Age appearances for more than a decade. This issue is not a key book by any means. Being published in the late Golden Age, it's the standard 52 pages of the time. It includes 3 Wonder Woman 12-page stories, illustrated by the aforementioned H.G. Peter, plus a 3-page nonfiction Wonder Women of History story, penciled by the incomparable Arthur Petty. Wonder Woman number 38 is a rare book, especially for a Golden Age book published by National, as DC was officially known at the time. There are only 29 universal copies in the CGC census, with a median grade of 6.0. Despite being a Golden Age comic book for one of DC's big 3, it neither has very many sales nor commands a high price tag. In fact, I purchased this copy for $163 plus tax and shipping from Lone Star Comics. They estimated the grade at very good, or 4.0 on the 10-point scale, and I know from experience that they tend to grade rather conservatively. In addition, I knew from evaluating the images that this book could be improved by a clean and press, so thought there might be some equity to be created. My plan, having purchased this comic book raw from Lone Star Comics, is to clean it, press it, submit it to CGC, and then send it back to Lone Star Comics to sell on consignment. Will I make any money on this endeavor? Break even? Or will I be underwater on my investment? Honestly, I'm really not sure, but I'm going to share the process with you in real time, so you'll find out when I do. Let's get to dry cleaning this book, and I'll explain some of my rationale while we go. Alright, as per usual, clean and dry. Bare hands with a cotton round is where I like to start. This is your opportunity to sort of suss out the book. You can feel imperfections in the cover if you're careful and mindful. Dragging the cotton across the cover will actually, if you're paying attention, show you where there are imperfections in the book, while it picks up loose debris and removes some contaminants. One of the things that I'm doing is checking the cotton round to see what it's picking up. I rotate it so that I'm not moving the same, if I do pick up dirt around the cover, and just smearing it around, or even worse, using debris as an abrasive on the cover. And as I said, as I go, I'm dragging it along and I'm feeling for anything that grabs. And you'll see I've just found a foreign body by doing this. Then I'm going to use my little chisel and I'm going to try to just pop that foreign body off, which works. And we removed it. Now there's a little stain there from that foreign body, and we'll see what we can do with that when we dry clean with an eraser later. But that's what we want to use the cotton round for. Really presents nicely, has good cover gloss. Overall, I think it's a very nice book. And VG, I think so, VG Plus in its current condition. And then we have some defects that we can address. So I think there's a realistic shot at something like a 5, maybe even a little better with luck. Here's a little tag of paper that's bent over. I'm just going to straighten that out with the other end of my chisel. And we'll get to dry cleaning with erasers. I'm using my Pentel Click erasers, my main eraser. It's the one that I prefer generally for dry cleaning. And I thought a bit about leaving this letter here, but I think it's distracting. It doesn't match up with any of the marks that represent a pedigree with respect to any of the known pedigrees, and so I just decided to remove it. I think where it was in that white field, it really sort of detracts from the art, so I think it would have been reasonable to leave, but I decided to remove it. And it's pencil, so rather easy to remove. While I continue with my eraser work, let's talk about my rationale for flipping this comic book. With the sale that CGC ran on the vintage tier submissions, if we bundle our shipping of this book and others, we can get the grading down to just about $30 all in. Although Wonder Woman number 38 is too rare of a book to trade hands often enough to establish a consistent fair market value, I'm counting on the rarity, Lone Star Comics' conservative grading, my ability to improve the grade through a clean and press, and the equity created by getting the comic book graded by a third party to all work in my favor. Those are edges that I have. I've done a number of things specifically to control my costs, limit my risks, and give me the best opportunity to create some equity with this comic book. Lone Star Comics offers consignments for any and all slabbed comic books, and the consignment fees vary from 10% down to 8% of the sale. That's less than eBay fees and quite a bit less hassle. I'll be headed up to Dallas for the Collector Summit in a few short weeks, so dropping some comic books off for consignment won't even cost me a shipping fee there, as I'll be driving up to Dallas from the Austin area anyway in my Trans Am. These factors should also give me an edge in my pursuit of a profit on this comic book. Lone Star Comics does seem to get strong prices in general for their comics, and I looked at their inventory. They have 0 copies of Wonder Woman number 38 offered for sale, and they list 23 users as having this issue on their want list, which seems promising. A lot can go wrong in this endeavor, however, and as we go along, I'll share with you what I think are the potential pitfalls, as well as where I think you can create an edge for yourself if you think it would be fun to do the same thing I'm trying. Well, there really wasn't a lot of soiling on the front cover, and there actually really isn't a lot on this back cover either. I'm making pretty quick progress with my Pentel Click Eraser. As I mentioned, it is my tool of choice for dry cleaning. It's a PVC white eraser, and it's a little bit softer and less abrasive than some of the other alternatives on the market. So that's why I prefer it. I cut that tip at about a 45-degree angle with a scalpel. That gives me the ability to get into tight areas, and when I have buildup of dark debris on my eraser, I clear it on my hobby mat, which you've been watching me do throughout the video while I've been narrating other things. I think this book has a lot of potential. It is really cool that it has those 3 H.G. Peter illustrated stories, although, as I commented earlier, without Charles Moulton, the Wonder Woman stories lost a lot of their sort of spirit and energy that he brought to it. Now I'm going to do something you don't often see me do. I'm going to use this eraser in an area that is a colored area, an inked area, non-white. You can get away with this very gently. As you notice, I checked the eraser to make sure I wasn't lifting the yellow ink. And it's a little bit easier to get away with it on these Golden Age books than it is on, say, silver or bronze. So proceed with caution, but you can very gently erase those areas if you have the experience. Practice on some inexpensive books. By all means, do not start with a Golden Age Wonder Woman book. I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time on this spine because this is where the book gets handled. Tends to have just a little bit more grime and build up. You see my eraser crumbs are coming off. They're rolling off the eraser dark. And that does mean we're removing some grime. My movement here is very gentle. As I've said before, you want to take 10 light strokes rather than one heavy stroke. If you're removing all of the debris in one stroke, you're pushing too hard. You're risking damaging the paper, and I don't want to do that. So these are very gentle back and forth movements, almost no pressure at all. One of the ways I accomplish that is actually by extending the eraser quite far. When it's all the way out there, it's kind of floppy at the tip, and you really can't exert very much force, and that sort of protects you from yourself. Clearing that eraser tip as often as needed, especially in this grimy area. You've heard me say it many times, but it bears repeating. When you're doing this sort of work, it is tedious, it takes quite a while. Feet flat on the ground, good posture. Make sure you're breathing. One of the ways that I maintain good posture is I have a ring light that allows me to sit upright but still get a great view of the book. It's a magnifying glass in the center with really strong LED lighting all the way around in a ring. And I have a link in my Amazon influencer page, which you can access through the description of this video. If you want to support the channel and use the exact same equipment that I use, the same erasers, the same cotton swabs, everything that I use here, they're all listed in my Amazon influencer page, and I do very much appreciate you using those links. I get a tiny commission, it doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps me offset costs for bringing you the content that I bring you. Now I'm going to use a kneadable eraser here, and I like to use these where there's ink, non-white areas, or white areas where there's general sort of broad grime. These tend to be able to lift. They do it in obviously a broader swath than your Pentel click eraser does. And for that reason, it's less noticeable as an eraser mark, and they can be effective in certain areas. I don't use it a whole bunch, but here I think it was worth doing. Right. I think we're pretty much done with dry cleaning the exterior cover here, and I'll spend a few moments cleaning the book and cleaning up eraser crumbs, and we'll be on to the next part of this project. Let's end this episode here, and next episode we'll review dry cleaning results, and I'll show you how I removed the spine roll from this 75-year-old comic book. Leave me a comment and let me know if you think my endeavor here is brilliant or a foolish scheme. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know if you've had any similar hits or misses. While you're at it, hit that like button and by all means subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you made it this far, then you're a true fan of this sort of content, and I want to call your attention to the 2024 YouTube Comic Book Community Awards. Creating content for YouTube is a labor of love and a way for us to connect with others that share our passion. The awards recognize the incredible amount of work that goes into creating content for YouTube and bringing it to you viewers. I'm humbled and filled with gratitude to have been recognized this year as a finalist, and I'm thrilled to be listed among these other fine channels. Please take a minute and go vote for one of us. Everyone here is doing it for the love of the community. I've put a link in the description to make it easy for you to cast your vote. And if you want more comic book conservation content, check out the live show which airs Sunday evenings at 8:35 Eastern with my co-hosts Captain Larry of Flying L Comics and Phil of Phantom Restoration. Until next time, take care of one another.